Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's the radioactive pop with Danny Limelight, United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance blog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Bobby.
They want NWA? Let's give them NWA.
Who are those guys?
And then there's the other guys.
We're the other guys. We're the guys nobody ever bets on.
The following program is intended for mature audiences.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show.
It's time for the Other Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts, Tim, Dave, and Jeremy.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. What can we tell you? Well, we carrying on our sad news as per the banner here. Today we lost not only WWE Hall of Famer, but NWA Hall of Famer and former World's Heavyweight Champion, the Dirty Funker, Terry Funk. 79 years of age, and I imagine Dave passed due to complications from the dementia that has been reported over the last, I guess, couple of years now. Really sad news. Really one of the greatest world champions in NWA history, and I'm sure they'll be honoring him this weekend at 75.
I hope so. They better. I mean, it's one of these that if all you know about Terry Funk is Chainsaw Charlie from WWF, that's very minute. I mean, he was a wrestler's wrestler. I mean, he reinvented himself time and time again. And right. I mean, with almost every organization he was in, he made a name for himself, whether it be as strictly a wrestler, a hardcore legend. I mean, just him, his brother, and his father, Dory Sr. It's just, when you hear the name Funk, that is just, to me, that's wrestling.
Right. It's exactly it. And there's like you said, there's nobody like him who ever reinvented himself more times. He seemed to be timeless, you know. Yeah. Like you mentioned, Dory Sr., his dad, Western States sports promotion, where Terry and Dory Jr. Started, both obviously NWA World's Heavyweight Champions, and he wrestled in championship wrestling from Florida and over in Japan, and I think primarily All Japan and Continental. But yeah, I mean, he was in the WWF for a while in the mid 80s. He had that feud with Ric Flair in 89. Right after Flair regained the world big gold from Ricky Steamboat. And I think that was probably, though I knew the name and had seen some of the matches, but my first real hands-on experience with Terry Funk would have been then, standing with that tuxedo on the ring. Hey, Rick, how about you give me a shot, and famously pile driving Ric Flair through a table at a time when that kind of stuff just wasn't quite yet done. And ECW, as you mentioned, he was the ECW world champion at one point. I imagine that we'll have to do some kind of retrospective on his life with some of the Alliance guys, and it's worth its own show.
Yeah.
He was world's heavyweight champion from December 75 to February 77, 424 days. He won it from Jack Briscoe. He lost it to Harley Race. That's a pretty good legacy. And on a list, don't trust Wikipedia, guys, but on a list of, I would say, around 49 champions would be my off-the-cuff guess right now. He sits 17th on the all-time list at 424 days between Naoya Ogawa and Dick Hutton, the beltless Dick Hutton. So very, very sad to hear. And, like you said, just a guy who, no pun intended. All due respect to, to Terry, a tip of the hat there to Terry Funk, but I think he's a guy who will be remembered forever. Yeah. I hope that if there's a tombstone or something erected in Terry Funk's name, a statue, that it has the word forever on it written a whole bunch of times. How many times did that guy retire? Do we know?
A
dozen?
I can't even take a guess. It'd be like, okay, I'm done. Oh, no, I'm not. So and so talk shit on me, so I have to go prove them wrong.
Yeah. Yep. It's a bummer to start off, I guess, that way. But you're right. He just seemed to keep coming back because he seemed like he still had something to prove, didn't he?
And I mean, as a wrestler, and then doing the hardcore thing, it's one of these things of he was very, I'd say, very unselfish.
Yeah.
He was willing to help make others rather than keep himself shined up. If you understand the terms I'm saying.
Yeah.
He was just, I mean, he's what wrestling is about. It's about telling a good story, and it doesn't always mean winning in the end. If you tell a good story, how they're looked upon by the crowd, but it's one of these things of he knew how to tell a story.
Yeah. Your audio's kind of got away from your video there, but absolutely correct. Yeah, I mean, Willie's here. Condolences to Dory and the Funk family. Sam is here as well. Viamos Lucha Libre, welcome. Not familiar with the handle, but thank you for being here. Yeah, Willie, former NWA World's Heavyweight Champion, obviously, as we've said, 424 days or whatever it was. Media Mike says, from what I understand, Terry was sick the past few weeks, more than usual. I think we kind of, I mean, even as distant fans watching Twitter or whatever would be his birthday, and I know McFoley loved to visit Terry as often as he could, and he would post about how well Terry was doing. We kind of got the sense that he was in poorer health, and sad to see. Mike met him 3 times. Extremely kind and gracious, fantastic human, not just a wrestler. Terry truly loved ECW and all whom was in it during his tenure there. It was a passion project for him for 5 years. Taking good care of some of his friends there, and yeah. So I mean, that's sad, and I guess we don't want to stick with that. But from as small as we are, the alliance, we are NWA fans and obviously Terry Funk fans. So all the best to Terry's friends and family, and our condolences. Something else that it has happened this afternoon is that May Valentine has posted on Twitter just a couple of hours ago that she will not be at NWA 75 or on the upcoming season of Power. She writes, I wish the best of luck to the person who will be working as backstage interviewer, and to all my friends busting their asses at every match. Much love, May Valentine. It seems kind of final, but it's also a little open-ended. Like, it doesn't say, I'm pursuing other options, or I've been shown the door and given my my papers. It just says she won't be here this year and she won't be at 75. What do you think of that, Dave?
I'm not really sure. I know she has a lot going on. She was featured in Playboy recently. She just has a lot on her plate, and it may be granted they only do NWA tapings 4 to 5 times, maybe 6 a year, but it's one of these things that, yeah, if she can do it, that's fine. If she can't, no harm, no foul. Move on. Get someone else in that place. Maybe go to a 2-man booth and put Velvet backstage. Who knows?
Right. Her repost, or her post rather, has already been she's bantering with Aaron Stevens already, where he's saying, look, the preacher swindled me, and it's no way it would have worked. It's not my fault. It wasn't my decision. And she's already bantering back, saying, well, you've lost me forever now, and that type of thing. But it didn't. You would think that if she had other stuff going on too, that she would say, I'm sorry, but commitments elsewhere just prevent me from being there, and I have to go. But so it's a little up in the air. I'm sure we'll learn over the next few days what it is that's happened. It seems like she's fine, and whether or not you were a May fan or you didn't like her in her role, she certainly improved over the last several seasons, I thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mike says May has a lot going on, but she always praised the NWA on how grateful she was due to her past. Just saying, yeah. I mean, if you follow Maya Diaz Gomez on Twitter, she's been very open about where she's come from and what she's gone through in her life, and she's very much a proponent of her own self-worth, I guess I would say, if I could wrap it into a sentence that works. So I think she really tries to be a positive influence to other people, and I've always found her very engaging on Twitter. So whether or not she's gone from the NWA for good, we don't know, but all the best to May Valentine, and we'll see. Who would you guys in the chat, because there's a bunch of you there, who would you like to see replace her? Would it be Velvet? Would it be Danny Deals? Would it be Candy? Would it be somebody else altogether? Let us know what you think as we go along with the show here. But what are we talking about today? We'll have to pick it up. You know what? Let's talk about something hilariously fun. I just threw this in, Dave. I was a little behind my time this week, and I caught up on the Joe Alonso promos.
Oh yeah.
And guys like Jay Cal, who's is in the chat here, and Gary Horn on Discord are just saying he's gonna die. Homicide's gonna kill him. But if you guys haven't seen them, oh, by the way, Willie's chimed in already. Candy should be May Valentine's replacement. She's actually very well spoken, I thought too, Dave. Candy during her time on the announce booth.
Yeah.
By the way, I should point out, I'm sorry I haven't done that. We're 18 minutes into the show, and I haven't pointed out why Jeremy's not here. Jeremy's he's working. He's working late right now, and he's stuck. We don't know if he's going to be coming on later or not, but it sounds like he might miss the show altogether, which means that no UWN tonight. That's his deal. Mrs. Wood likes Danny Deals from the Reluchador for the backstage interviewer. And Lamb is here. Hey, hello, my friend. Maybe Gary or Jay can replace her at the pay-per-view. Yeah. Yeah, probably Gary with a lot of shut up Gary. Yeah. Hey, can we get Jay that job? I'd do that. How about you, Dave? You want to throw your Alliance hat into the ring and be the backstage interviewer?
Get beat up.
You'd get beat up? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I'd probably get beat up.
So Yeah, before we get into those Joe Alonso promos, but Jake Hill said, "What if Tyrus's comments pushed May out?" He'd take that job. There was a. I actually had not thought about speaking about that today, but good for you. I can't remember the source. Dave, Media Matters. That's what it was on
Yeah.
Twitter. Kind of a clickbait account, from what I can determine. Had some comments from Tyrus about being very unsupportive of people who have pronouns, pronoun choices, and that if his own children ever decided that they wanted different pronouns, that he would answer with an ass whooping, I think is what he said. So I actually think those comments, someone in our Discord said they were actually a couple of years old. Not that matters, but it certainly, I was not very happy when I heard that.
Yeah.
And it just makes me, like our good friend John Ceramic Fuzzy said, let's move on to EC3.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's one of these things of you have to try to separate the person from the performer, and a lot of people can't. So it's time to move on. The experiment has been done, and it's time to move on.
Yeah. What did they say? Yeah. I mean, like I just said, right? Like it was a clip from Gutfeld where he made fun of the type of people, physical appearance of people he suggested he would want to talk about their own pronouns, and then said that if his own children ever did it, he'd give him a whooping. I think that was very sad, and certainly not what I personally want in my champion. So I'm rooting for EC3. I'm rooting for anyone who's facing Tyrus right now. But the Joe Alonso promos, let's stick on that. There was one where the first one I saw, he's holding up a pink shirt with Homicide's face on it with the name Nelson on the top, which is Homicide's,
Government name.
Yeah.
Government. Yep.
Government name. That's it. And saying how he's raising money to help Homicide retire because he's too poor to retire. He needs to retire. $75. If you're going to 75, he's going to sell them there and the whole bit. Then he did a skit where he was Homicide, and he was also Homicide's teacher, and he was speaking him how to enunciate words. And when he finally gets the word world correctly, they high-fived each other. And I think Gary was spot on when he said, like, all within the spirit of professional wrestling, of course, Homicide's going to murder Joe Alonso.
Yep. I mean, it's in his name. I mean, if anything, it's going to get Joe over one way or another, whether he wins or loses. That it's going to be Homicide is going to help push him up the ladder, whether it's a win or a loss.
Mm. Absolutely. I had thought they had faced each other before, and I'm a little stuck when I'm thinking about it. But it's yeah. I mean, it's funny. It's hilarious. And NWA 75 has not been pushed to the moon as a pay-per-view.
I don't know if you realized the phone number that he put down, the 847 number. Do you realize whose phone number that is?
I didn't see that. Whose number was it?
It's Madame Zuzu's. It's Billy Corgan's tea shop, bakery and tea shop. Yep.
Very funny. Yeah.
Balls. I would have made sure I asked the boss before throwing that on there, but We'll see this weekend what happens.
I think it's going to be a pretty hard hitting match. And, the reason I brought up 75 not being billed, we've talked about that, not being billed to the moon so far, is because at least this was something to throw some light on a pre-show match. We're talking about it in the Discord, which, by the way, if you want to link to the Alliance Discord, it's in the YouTube list of links for all the Alliance wrestling sites. Is different feelings on Power last night and whether or not it was a good go-home show in front of NWA 75, or whether or not it matters that we came up to the last episode of Power before Chris Adonis fed Thom Latimer to Knox and Murdoch and set up a TV title match on the last show before the pay-per-view is going to be released. What did you think?
I mean, at least they did something, but I'd rather know a couple weeks in advance to build up the story rather than wait till the last minute. I mean, we don't even know who Kenzie's facing for the women's TV title.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, got a couple days, guys. Why wait to the last minute?
And there hasn't been, a lot of them were the last minute, or even if they were set up early, that was the last you heard about them after the setup. Mm-hmm. It just seems like the booking for it was limited. I want to say limited. And I think that everyone expects that 75 will be a good show. Like, as we say, almost every NWA pay-per-view is a good show. And we hope for lots of surprises and twists and turns and to have a good time. I know both you and I are going. It'll be my first NWA show in 20 years. So, I mean, live anyway.
Yeah.
But really, I mean, there hasn't been. I don't think it was ever announced. I just found it online today. The Brothers of Funstruction are facing Magnum Muscle. So I do not believe there's ever been an announcement on that.
Yeah, and I mean it's little stuff. I mean, Matt Cardona is coming back 15, 20-second videos of some possible opponents saying, hey, I want to challenge you. Throw those up in between. Hey, we've talked with Matt Cardona. There's several people that are wanting to go into this open challenge against him. Let's hear from them now and play. Matt can either reply on social media or they have his reply played the next time they take a break during that show.
Right.
That, hey, we heard back from him. This is what he had to say. That if he does an open challenge, maybe he makes face him. Who knows? But I mean, there hasn't been a lot of push on a lot of these matchups, and it just seems they're there. There's nothing special behind them.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly it. And I don't know how everybody feels in the chat right now about going into NWA 75. Like I say, for my part, I expect a really good show. It's just I didn't love Power. Like when Power, I sat down for Power with my wife. We kind of thought, okay, how are they gonna do the go home show? The very first match was the Spectaculars with Rolando Freeman and the Fixers with Matt Vine. And I thought, are we going to waste 20 minutes of the time here to, when we have 75 right off at the end of the weekend for the weekend? It didn't seem like anything happened. There were a couple of things, obviously, with Chris Adonis, as mentioned, turning on Thom Latimer as a friend and wanting that TV title shot. Like Jay, I'm more excited to see my friends. Yeah. There was a cool kind of segment that was saved a while ago. I'm sure where Camille and Kenzie Page were on at the same time, where she sort of said to her, you're a good wrestler, and when you stop hiding behind that group of girls that you run with and grow up, you're going to be worth something. But until then, off you go. So whether that was teasing any kind of match against Kenzie or just a Kenzie face turn against Pretty Empowered at one point, we'll have to wait and see. But let's go through some of those matches.
Okay.
And so what we're going to do, and we'll ask you guys in the chat to kind of play along as we go through them fairly quickly tonight. Let's throw up our predictions and share what we've got. I have arranged them in the order I think they're going to happen, more or less anyway. So NWA 75 this weekend, obviously that's on Fight if you're ordering it elsewhere. Night one, Zion with Austin Idol versus Jordan Clearwater on the pre-show. There's 3 or 4 matches on the pre-show for night one. This obviously there's been some interaction between the two, but what do you think, Dave? Any call for Zion versus Clearwater?
Is too good of a wrestler to not win this match. Even if he wins by DQ, I think they're going to just have Zion do the attack mode, and it's going to be a DQ win for Jordan. But Jordan is too good of a wrestler. He needs to be built back up. And him being with EC3 the last couple times you've seen him,
right?
They need to stick together. Whether EC3 wins the title, they need to stick together. It'd be a good thing. They can watch each other's back. If they end up having to wrestle as a tag team,
yep.
it's enough that can help him improve.
Yeah, I'm going to go with I'm torn on this one because I too want Clearwater to get back in the mix. He's too good a wrestler to waste. And also because I don't see why the purpose of Zion is without Zion. Like you replace the one masked wrestler with the other, and now, I don't see why he would be there. That being said, though, Zion's on a tear, and I'm going to take Zion to win this one. Not the winner I want, but the winner that I would take. Let's see what the chat says. Lamb says, knowing Billy, Zion will win it with another new name change. Yeah, cry on, everyone. Who else have we got? Who's next up? Daisy Kill and Talos versus the Fixers on the pre-show night one. U.S. Tag Team #1 contenders match. The Fixers just went over on Power, and there hasn't been a lot of luck for Kill or Talos, but they are getting some airtime. What do you think, Dave?
I mean, the Fixers have had their time. It's time to either build up Daisy Kill and Talos or move on. They are entertaining at times, but you need to use them to build up some other teams. Because, I mean, right now, the Fixers and the Country Gentlemen are really the only teams that are around for the U.S. titles. I mean, you have the Country Gentlemen, you have the Spectaculars, but, I mean, Spectaculars have been used as more or less a joke. That they haven't been taken seriously. So I mean, it's time to bring some more teams up to the level of the country gentlemen, so they have some serious teams to actually do battle with.
Yeah, I could not agree more. So you're thinking Daisy Kill and Talos, or are you thinking for a rehab fixers to go over? I lost you there.
I'd like to see Daisy and Talos go over. I mean, the fixers, they're there, but it'd be a rerun if they go against the country gentlemen again.
Right. Yeah, and I think it's a waste of 7. Yeah. Sorry, finish up. Go ahead. Having trouble hearing you, Dave.
Oh.
Let's yeah, I'm going to take Talos and Daisy. Did you pick one over the other?
I'd say Daisy Kill and Talos. Yeah.
Yeah. It seems a waste of a 7-footer to let him just languish on the, in the staring up at the lights as often as that team does. We have the is there a way to do this that no, I guess not. We have the Jubilee Jamboree, which is, I don't know, some kind of elimination match. Eric Jackson, Alex Taylor, Jack Cartwheel from AAA, who I quite like, Koa Laksamana, and Matt Vine. The winner will go on to face the junior heavyweight champion in night 2. Is that on the pre-show? It is. It's on the pre-show. 5 guys in that. Any thoughts on who will face the junior champion night 2?
Let's see. I'd personally like to see Cartwheel go over. If you haven't seen Jack Cartwheel, amazing talent. And I think if Kerry does retain, it will be a good junior heavyweight match. Whether Kerry champion, we'll see. Who knows? But whoever wins, it'll be a good match if Cartwheel does take the win.
Yeah, I agree. It would be good. I'd like to see Jack Cartwheel stick around for a little while if we can keep him. Eric Jackson's going to wake everybody up. He's getting some airtime. I think the signs are pointing for me to Jackson. I'll take Jackson to win this and go down in flames on night 2. But it should elevate him a little bit. In a similar match, we get similar kind of elimination style match. We get a 21-man battle royal on that pre-show to face the new national champion, whoever that might be, on night 2. We can't really predict who's going to win this because we don't know who's going to be in it. But do you have any random thought about who might, show up and win this thing?
I mean, it's a flip of the coin.
Yeah.
I really have no idea who they're bringing in, and as it looks, Thrill Billy will probably walk away with the national title, but knowing Billy, it's a crash. And when they do something like this and don't give us an idea of, hey, here's at least 5 or 10 of the guys that will be featured in the Battle Royal for a shot at the national title. It's lazy booking.
Lazy booking. Jay Cow said, I'm rooting for Jay Spade. Like Sam says, doesn't Jay Spade have a title shot? We talked about that before. That'd be great. I don't know. I'm to take on the national champion. I'm gonna say Mims or Draper, one of the Magnum Muscle guys. Just not knowing who's going to show up, and I could see one of those guys trying to be shoved into the national title scene. I feel bad for the national title as a level. It's so beleaguered and it's been so abused that I don't care about it right now. I hope that changes this weekend. Matt Cardona Open Challenge. Any thought on who that might be that shows up?
My first thought is Mike Knox.
Mike Knox. I hadn't
But
thought of that. Of course, Mike Knox. Yeah. Go ahead.
They have unfinished family business, and if he just shows up, because I mean, there's big rumor online in the IWC that Cardona is going back to WWE, and he's talking, and whether he goes back or finishes up the NWA, put somebody over on the way out. And I mean, that would put a bow on the family story, and I mean, it would just finish that story for me.
It would. It's a great choice. Also for that battle royal, I don't know why it just occurred to me, as I think we both said it. Wouldn't it be great to see Barrett Brown show up? But anyway, for this one, Open Challenge, Bully, Sam was saying, right? Bully might show up. Yeah, or the Indie Taker. Bully might show up to answer that challenge. I mean, feel like we've been there, but I can't think of anyone else either. This match may be the match that I'm most looking forward to right off the top of my head, other than a new World's Heavyweight Champion, guys, would be the Matter of Respect. No DQ match. Tim Storm versus Jack Stane. A match that Dave was just, it just happened in an instant. Obviously, they have, history over the World's Championship before, years back, and Dane was in a Savages match, and Tim Storm at nearby in the booth said, "I've never seen Jack Stane look more vulnerable," and it was just a look that, what did you say about me? And then this match was born, and I'm excited for it. Just a couple of big boys and the whole bit. Yeah. Jay says for that last match for the Open Challenge could be Rolando. In which case, I'm gonna go get a hot dog. What was that?
I said, let's hope not.
Yeah. You saw Bully and Cardona, as Land points out, at Battleground.
It was at the ECW arena for Battleground. Bully put him through a flaming table and then happily chased him out of the ECW arena, and he was never seen again that night. And then the next week showed up at Major League Wrestling in the same building.
Right.
So who knows?
Rusty Loudermilk, haven't seen you in a while. Welcome back, sir. NWA wrestling legend of the 50s. 82, Abe Jacobs passed away at 95. That's sad to hear. You may have heard, Rusty, that Terry Funk also passed today at 79. So sad one there. Where were we at here? Do you have a pick for Dane and Storm?
I think Jax needs the win to get his shine back. That Tim hasn't been in the ring and can take the loss without losing credibility. But
Right.
Jax needs to be built back up if he's staying with the NWA.
Right. Sam agrees. It's Jack Stane. So do I. I think it's got to be Dane on this one, with the Savages falling apart at the same time. As we announced earlier, I learned earlier today that the Brothers of Funstruction will be facing Magnum Muscle. I'm gonna give this one to the Brothers of Funstruction, Dave. I think the Clowns are probably going to end up going over Magnum Muscle. What do you think? Yep.
I mean, with them bringing in ICP, Violent J, they're spending money to actually make this a match that is possibly worth watching. While I personally don't like the clown gimmick, the guys that wrestle as the clowns, with Violent J there, I gotta say the clowns take it.
Yeah, agreed. Sam says I'm kind of a Vampiro ICP 1999 fan, so this is a throwback for me. I really liked Vampiro's promo. I think we talked about that last week, but that was good. Also, we got for night one, we have La Rebellion against Blunt Force Trauma for the NWA World Tag Team Championship. The winners obviously go on to face at night two. Who do you got for night one, guys? What do you think, Dave?
I think it's time for a change. That Vampiro costs La Rebellion the titles, and that Blunt Force Trauma takes the belts and are champions until night two when they have to face Murdoch's. And nobody's walking away. That's four big beefy guys. Winners, Murdoch's needs to have the belts to build up the titles and build up a couple more teams that I'd like to see them give them a 3-4 month reign, then someone else comes in and takes them away. That build up some.
Yep.
And I mean, nothing against La Rebellion. They are good, but they aren't, quote unquote, a homegrown team from the NWA.
Right. I'm going to say BFT takes the titles and keeps the titles through the weekend. I agree that Knox and Murdoch need to take those belts, but I think they got to chase them. So I agree. I would think Vampiro costs La Rebellion the titles, but Aaron helps BFT keep the titles on night two. Would be my guess, and go for the chase. Yeah, does Car Shield work for audio too? Yeah. You have some troubles, but that's why I dump myself out of the audio. It gives Dave more bandwidth in that part where he is there right now. Which I think is why he's got his camera off, to try to get more bandwidth. Sam says Murdoch's for champions when this is over. Mike says yes, make Murdoch's chase them. They're too over to just win it, with BFT having the chance to be big heels against them. Sam says it's the chase. Murdoch hasn't lost there yet. Interesting. Yeah. Welcome to StreamYard and iPhones. Yeah, I'm on a laptop. I got a pretty sweet setup here. I'm all right, but even I have issues sometimes. It is what it is, guys. We apologize. We'll figure it out. Who's coming in after that? It's a two-night card here. Kerry Morton and Colby Carino for the NWA World Junior Championship match. Tyrus doesn't chase anything. But Kerry Morton has been the NWA Junior Heavyweight Champion for a long time, it seems like. I don't have the exact number of days in front of me. Whoops. But I think that it's close to like 90,000 days at this point. No, It's been the better part of a year anyway. And is it time for Colby to take it, or do you anticipate one of those guys from the Jamboree going from night one, taking something in night two, or do you think Kerry survives the weekend?
I'd like to see a change one way or the other, and personally, I'd like to see the Barrett Brown story play out.
Oh yeah.
So it may be one of these things of Jamie Stanley costing Carino the match.
Yeah.
Wins the Jamboree can come after. But it's one of these things that I still believe that Barrett Brown would be the best story. But it doesn't seem like they're going that way with the Jamboree thing. So I really don't know. This is a flip of a coin.
It really is. It's funny for Mike. We love Scooby. It's Scrappy that we want to stop. Yeah, this is Billy. This is the internet deal. I think it's Billy interfering because we know we're coming to invade this weekend. Yeah, buddy. Kerry keeps it. Sam Retro says, I guess, through the weekend. Mike says, my guess is this: NWA has been silent on Stanley and Colby since Colby's return. All of a sudden, Stanley back with Colby. Colby may be a face, as I said, for weeks. Stanley cost Carino the match and turns on Colby after he wins. Interesting. Kerry survives the weekend, but I think a new champ is needed, says Rusty. Kerry doesn't job in St. Louis, Dave. Kerry doesn't job in Boca Raton. Go ahead, Dave.
Oh no.
Okay. I will not be in Nashville, and I hope. Yeah, I know you're going to go see your aunt, and best wishes to you and your aunt and your family, buddy. Good luck to her, and all the best. I won't be there. Or Luke and I are just coming down for the weekend, and we're driving straight back up on Monday. So it'll be good time. I think for this one that Kerry keeps it on Saturday, and well, so you know what? No, I'm going to change it last minute here on the fly. I think Colby takes it on Saturday and keeps it through Sunday. So we'll see how that goes. And I've been talking to Kerry Morton on the side over Twitter, and he's a good guy. So if he wins, hey, we're pulling for him. He's a fun dude. National championship match, the Thrillbilly, J.R. Kratos, I guess just in the NWA, and Odinson. It's interesting that Pollo Del Mar is still on the poster. She had some things to say on Power that would suggest that she won't be in Thrillbilly's corner, and she's got something else going on. But any thoughts on these, what Thom Latimer would call big meaty boys, Dave? Who's going to take this one?
I mean, the story is there with Thrillbilly. They're pushing him, but his push has been stop and go. And with the Southern Six, to me, it threw a wrench in everything. That he was going, and then hey, let's go with this storyline. And he switched, and the Pollo thing, and her taking the bump, and then him stepping over and walking away. It doesn't do anything for me. I'd like to see him with the title, but winning it this way when he's just winning, he's beating somebody for a title that nobody holds. and it's Billy booking. Yeah.
Right. It ain't great. Mike wants to see Pollo get a receipt, put a show upside Thrillbilly's head. It's not that I don't have a winner for this, because the easy answer and probably the most probable answer is Thrillbilly. My primary answer is right now I don't care. It's Thrillbilly's booking has been crap. We'll see it in as we go through BRCW versus NWA in a couple minutes. But he got beat, as Cornette would say, flatter than a plate of piss. And we're going into 75, and this is what we're seeing on the screen. So my actual pick, just because we need a pick, I'm going to go with Kratos. I'm going to say Kratos as your national champion.
Yeah.
I just putting it to Thrillbilly right now would make me shrug. He didn't win it off EC3. It just doesn't do anything for me. Billy didn't know, Sam says, how to get it from EC3 to Thrillbilly. Mike says, I'll go with Kratos. The problem is obvious, is silly Billy don't win, but the question of who really will care when the match is over. Kratos, Jay doesn't want it to be Thrillbilly. Interesting. Kratos has bled very literally, for this company. And, he's had weird injuries and travel problems. And I don't know. I think he's due. He had that great, I liked it, that fun run with Aaron Stevens as World Tag Champs a couple of years ago. And, they were fun together. I'd like to see that guy maybe just kind of get a run with the national title and try to defend it a whole bunch of times. I'm fine with Odinson too. It's just, for me, Odinson's a TV title guy. That's where he's at for me. And then the end of night one, we get the Burke Invitational Gauntlet. We got a bunch of ladies in that one vying for a shot at the Burke to face the NWA Women's Champion on night 2. And that includes Allison Kay. It's the only graphic I'll throw up here, but CJ's in that one, who, much of the newer NWA community, if you're not, up on your Christy Janes, we found out on Power recently, can wrestle. Because we've been asking for that for a while, so I'm glad that it's finally happening. Heather Monroe is in that gauntlet match. MJ Jenkins we've seen before. We got Ruthie J, who, by the way, did you see that Matrix pin escape, they called it, on BRCW? Wow. Smooth. Samantha Starr, of course, who's, looking trim and lean. Sierra, who we've seen before. Taylor Rising, who we talked about last week, and the Woad. And then to be announced. Any one of those names grab you as the winner of this thing, or are you going to go with to be announced, Dave?
I'm wondering who to be announced is, but I would love to see Heather Monroe get the win, because she's been wrestling for what seems like years. She is a good veteran, can work with anybody, and I think her going against Camille would help Camille as a wrestler. Plus, I mean, she is known on the West Coast, and that may draw in some viewers for the power if they do power tapings, and she's involved with that.
I would not mind her going and winning that one too. Dodie is here, and he's picked between Allison Kay, CJ, or Heather Monroe. Hey, I like Heather Monroe. From the UWN, since I've been watching that for the last year and a half or whatever. She's very talented. I'm sure that's who Jay's picking. His airline buddy from NWA over in China. I'm going to go with to be announced, because I'm going to be the fan here and hope that there is a an unknown name that is not coming out. I mean, personally, I don't think it likely. In fact, I could almost guarantee it's not going to happen. I think, just from a fan point of view, not knowing anything, I would love to see Tessa Blanchard show up, as we've talked about many, many times. But if there's a big name to come out, we haven't seen Max in a while, by the way, and they're not booked on this card either. So that would be interesting. So I'm going to go with the, as cheap as it might be, the to be announced call on that one. Let's go through some more of these because we're almost done for night one. And that would mean the main event from night one, probably the main event for all of NWA 75, because it's the NWA World Women's Champion, Camille, who almost always has the best matches of an NWA pay-per-view, for my money. She's going against, as we know, again, the Crush, Natalia Markova. Camille kind of followed the Joe Alonzo path today with a tweet of herself, like, this is what I look like in the morning. Like, it's very close up, when I wake up and see that my opponent has posted a stripper pole session as her promo for 75. And it was kind of amusing to see. What do you think, Dave? Is the Crush going over on this one, or do you like Camille to retain on night one?
I'd like to see Camille retain. Nothing against Markova, but the story has already been told. She's faced her many a time. I think this is her either fourth or fifth chance at the title. And it just, maybe if Camille wasn't in the NWA, Markova could be one of those ladies that goes after. But you've almost painted yourself into a corner with Camille being the one-time champion.
Right. So I'm going to say Camille goes over as well in night one. And as much as my lovely bride will scream when she hears me say this, I'm sure, I think that if to be announced turns out to be a big name and wins the Burke Invitational gauntlet, that maybe the NWA might feel it's time for a bit of a change, but it has to be something big, someone big. And if not, if it is even a CJ or a Heather Monroe or an Allison Kay, I'm going to say Camille retains for the whole weekend. We've kind of covered much of night two, because they're like, well, what happens if, a lot of these are just up in the air. It's BFT or La Rebellion versus Knox and Murdoch. We've kind of talked about a lot of those. So I'll just go to the ones that are kind of left here. Who do you got for the what is sure to be hard-hitting Homicide versus Joe Alonzo on night two?
See Alonzo with the win, even if it's a dirty win. Homicide doesn't need this win. He's already well established. He needs to help push some of the younger guys, and being that Joe is I guess, quote unquote, signed to the NWA. Yeah. He needs this win to actually go after the junior heavyweight title down the line, at least.
Yep, for sure. I'm 100% on board with that prediction. Hey, Mike disagrees with all the vignettes. Homicide for the win. Now, I think Nelson's going to do business. What was this? Nothing said from Homicide. Angle is all Alonzo. Yeah. I think Alonzo's the future here, and that's where I go. But hey, I am wrong usually 60% of the time or more. This was, Mike had said, this was for the women's title match. Yes, it has to be almost someone very big or even good outside the NWA and be done in a very special manner. Okay, great. And then carrying on, just a few more. M95 versus Pretty Empowered. There are no other ladies tag teams in the NWA. There just aren't. And while I like Missa Kate and I like Maddie Rankowski, put the belts back on Pretty Empowered, and that's going to be my call moving forward. What do you think, Dave?
I'd like to see M95 keep the belts, but they haven't been featured enough. And that's the thing with all these titles that they have for the women. Nothing against it, but you have your TV title, your women's title, the world title, and the tag team. It's they're just throwing teams together. That with only 2 to 3 actual teams, that's not a division. I'd like to see M95 featured, but I think putting the belts on Pretty Empowered would get the belts more TV time.
I agree. I mean, given what the little signs that I try to find meaning in, probably when there aren't any, but doing that stand up with Camille on Power, where she had said, I was talking about the top of the show to Kenzie, you're a good wrestler, but you're surrounded by a bunch of immature girls, and you want to grow up and be a professional, wrestler and actually do this at the level that you can do this at because you're pretty good. Great, but until then, get out of here, kind of thing. You're not worth my time. Like, it could be time for a face turn for Kenzie. Maybe that's what's in the books right now. And if that's the case, and she ends up dropping the not that she has a match for 75, but if she drops the TV title or gives it up and faces Camille, maybe there's a face turn down the road, and you could be looking at Kenzie and Roxy or Kenzie and Kylie going against the other two members of Pretty Empowered. But who knows? Mike says, yeah, that sucks. NWA tag women are now getting bland, and all the so-called singles talent, they can make a team, especially with the others such as MJ Jenkins coming in. And by God, what a great butt. Something has to be done to stir shit up. It's extremely dull. Yeah, it's a wasted division. It's not a thing right now. Nor has it ever really been since, the Renegade Twins spiced it up when they were here for their short run. But even then, it was just basically only 2-3 teams at the same time. So we know we have Kerry Morton and Colby Carino versus the winner of the Jubilee. We have the Battle Royal winner facing Kratos or Odinson. Can't really predict on those. The Country Gentlemen would then defend against, in our mind, Talos and Kill. Would you see them as NWA United States Tag Team Champions, Talos and Kill, or would you have the Gentlemen's retain, Dave?
I'd love to see a newer team featured, but the Country Gentlemen are doing a good job on defending the belts outside of the NWA, and that seems about the only time that they're featured is outside of the NWA. That unless the NWA is going to feature this belt, and this belt. Belts for the amount of TV time that they are producing. So it's one of these things of, I'd like to see a new team be featured, even if it's just for one season.
Yeah, agreed. Mike, they are new. Kill can talk. Gentlemen are getting too old and Southern bland as NWA gives them nothing. You can't make your audience outside of other promotions when your own fans are twiddling thumbs. Yeah, I would say if the fixers for some reason go over, gentlemen retain. But if I've also got Talos and Kill, I say new U.S. Tag Team Champions. Camille or Markova, we've kind of talked about versus the Burke Invitational Gauntlet winner. We have BFT or La Rebellion versus Knox and Murdoch, we've talked about. And we've talked about Colby or Carey. It really only leaves us, unless I'm missing one, with the main event for night 2, the bull rope match, the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship match. No need for the apostrophe NWA on Worlds. Thank you very much. You should know better. Tyrus, the Manster, the Monster. He is putting his career on the line. He will retire if EC3 beats him versus your former national champion who just gave the belt up to concentrate on this match. EC3. What do you think I know you think something for fantasy booking later, but what do you think about this match straight up between these two?
I think EC3. That there needs to be a change, and who knows, maybe Tyrus can take over for May backstage as an interviewer.
Yeah. I mean, but that'd be cool, but he's even on commentary, like he's a Gutfeld guy. Like he's got stuff going on, right?
Yeah.
What is this? Fire Hiban. What is this, Jay? What's going on? World's Heavy. Oh, the graphic design. Does Hiban do that? Shame on him. Shame on him. Yeah, no apostrophe in World's Heavyweight Champion. I'm sorry, Dave, I cut you off. You've got EC3 for the win here.
Yes, sir.
I do too. I'll take anyone but Tyrus, anytime, any place. Mike would like to see Candy or Deals doing that backstage stuff. By the way, if you've ever wondered why it's the world's heavyweight champion, this is something that's been discussed, why there's no apostrophe. If you're watching this and you've ever cared. From what I can determine in the research that I've done around belts, which is, a fair bit, the reason is because Manuel Sabala Jr., who created the 10 pounds of gold, designed the 10 pounds of gold, was a Mexican jeweler. He also did, by the way, the crown belt, which was the belt before this. The reason seems to be because English was not Mr. Sabala's first language. And that's why. But it has endured for, all of these years since the 70s when Harley Race was handled the belt and immediately, he never wore it as champion, but as the first person. But that's why. But champion of all worlds is how we look at it. But back to the question at hand. EC3 for the loss, Mike says. Latimer comes in and cashes and wins. So I think Dave's got some thoughts on that in our Fantasy Booker segment in a bit. Doty says EC3 wins, not speculation, not fantasy booking, but he must. Change, all caps here now, must be done. We need a new champion. The Tyrus experiment is done. If Billy keeps insisting on it, I'll be back to the life of piracy. Huh. Okay. Yeah. Oh, the apostrophe. Yes. Mike does say for EC3, the loss, Latimer cashes in. Jay says, I always thought it was because of Thaz unifying multiple world heavyweight champions. That's not my understanding as to why it happened, but there you go. Big Chris Dog. How about we have it a double DQ because both teams are both teams? Are we back to World Tag? Chris is hitting. This is all in weekend for Chris. So it's 75 for the rest of us. So we got EC3. Dave's got EC3. I got EC3. And that's how it'll be. I know we're going to get to some fantasy booking around Thom Latimer. But we wanted to do a NWA versus BRCW review. I think it can be relatively quick, Dave. We don't have Jeremy for this one. We can kind of go through it fairly quickly. This comes back from July 8th, the NWA versus Boca Raton Championship Wrestling that featured a number of matches. I'm just pulling up my notes here in case you're wondering why I'm looking at my phone. On the mic. By the way, this show from Boca Raton was an hour and 45 minutes long, and very refreshing to see as many matches as we did. We had Joe Galley and Kyle Davis on the mic with Val Capone, who I was not familiar with, but really liked as BRCW's kind of voice at the table. Dave, what did you think of her? I missed that. What did you say?
Oh, I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Oh, what did you think of Val Capone on the mic?
Oh, very good. It was good hearing somebody that actually seemed interested in what was going on and had some knowledge of the wrestlers and the moves.
Made me wonder today if May Valentine is out. Maybe Val Capone is someone who could fit that role, or be in our commentary booth in Velvet's spot. By the way, the production guys on this show really good. The sound was poor on the mics for Kyle Davis and whatnot. Anyone holding a microphone didn't seem to sound very good, but the production was great. It was really, really good. Like, the crowd was into it down there for the most part. They have a beautiful video screen, and the entrance packages that were made for them were nice. They had smoke, they had lights. It looked better than the NWA studio setup. I really liked it. And right off the top, we had LeKay, your BRCW champion, defending his title against Jamie Stanley, who was filling in for Odinson, who we're told missed his flight. And Jamie Stanley comes out and says, this dude's now the competitor. Good crowd reaction, lots of interaction between him and the crowd, calling him someone in the crowd was calling him names. It was pretty good right off the bat. Stanley ends up jumping LeKay before the bell, but LeKay takes control early. He culminates his offense in a press slam. Val does a really good job educating us on LeKay as the champion. He does end up missing a Vader bomb. He eats a top rope drop kick from Stanley that I thought was pretty good. He's really good in this match. He's playing up his hurting back from the power slam and the press slam that he's taken. He's a very underrated NWA performer. He's got the cocky foot pins when he gets his way. He does a rolling snapmare spot that was really awful. I'm not sure entirely whose fault it was, but the super kick that followed it up by Stanley was really good. But in this one, LeKay hulks up. He shows no effect whatsoever from the second rope axe handles that he eats. He hits Stanley with a backbreaker. He does a full Nelson slam, and basically from there he does his last dance, which is a thrill ride. Hits a 3 count. 2.5 stars, totally serviceable. Good, good start to the show. What did you think?
I thought it highlighted their champion, plus Jamie Stanley standing in for Odinson. The NWA doesn't look bad in a loss for Jamie Stanley, who, quote unquote, wasn't ready to wrestle, but I'll do what needs to be done.
Right. Yeah, totally good. You got what I thought was the draw, so to speak. Maybe the best match of the night. A really good match. You had the Island Kings from BRCW taking on Knox and Murdoch.
Yeah, this was a very good, strong back and forth match. It was good seeing another team that was actually a team. I now look at Murdoch's as a team, but the Island Kings, they are a team. They dress alike. They have tag team moves. It's not just two wrestlers. A feel good in that it went roughly about 10 minutes. They may have gotten in a little too much offense against a team the size of Murdoch's, but as the local team, they were given a push in taking that loss, that they went up against Crockett Cup winners and just barely lost. I mean, Murdoch's wins with their high-low, and I mean, that's just a devastating move. Take you off your feet and plant you on the mat. And I mean, myself, I wouldn't mind seeing if they're still around and we're still working with Boca Raton Wrestling, bring the next year for Crockett Cup.
Yeah, Mike has known this kid since he was a kid, and I guess he was in WWE developmental at some point. So it looks like he'll be hanging around the NWA for a while, and that's great. Great match. Yeah. I really liked it. We had Joe Alonzo going over Cha Cha Charlie, kind of a dancing guy. I'll skip one or two of these as we go because we don't have Jeremy tonight, and you are missed, brother. We'll see you next week. And we had Noah Kikoa versus Thom Latimer for the NWA television title. Tom's close to the lucky 7 at this point, we're told, and he's asked the 605 rule be waived because it's outside the NWA. So, yeah, Mike. By the way, Jeremy's fine. He's just working, and he's working late, so he's not able to be here tonight. So he's all good. So the 605 rule is waived. The crowd does a jobber chant for Noah Kikoa, who was Kona Reeves in NXT. Not familiar, but I gather that he's known. He looks a bit like The Rock. If you bought The Rock off of Wish, and I don't mean that really as an insult, but there's a similarity there. He's really got a great swagger, and he won't shake hands. And at the start of the bell, there's a couple of lockups, and this one started a little slow, and it actually turned out really well. Like they exchange lockups. They go nowhere. They're telling a story of equal strength between the two. There's an exchange of arm bars, and they show off their agility in escaping them. It's a slow start that has a focus on a build around trading holds and waist locks and headlocks, and it goes a while, and it honestly, it's pretty great for what it was. There's an even Steven deadlock that's broken with an eye poke when Noah gets dirty, stomping on hands. He tosses Tom outside. By the way, Fonzie's the referee for a number of these matches, including this one. Bill Alfonso, and he looks great. So I thought that was great. There was a bit where like Fonzie, in order to give Tom time, maybe I'm not really sure, but Noah Kakoa was trying to take a turnbuckle pad off. Fonzie had to stop him, and then anyway, there's a DDT once Latimer's back in by Kakoa. He covers him, puts the feet on the ropes. Looks like he might get him. It's still only two. But in the end, out of nowhere, it's that brighter, I think he calls it the brighter side of suffering, Latimer, with that pop-up power bomb. And then he gets the crossface and Noah taps. I will add this just while I'm thinking about it. Gary Horn put out in the Discord, give me a name for Latimer's crossface. And Fuzzy said the latitude adjustment. And I said, that's it. That's your winner. That's what it's got to be. So until I hear otherwise, that's what I'm going to call it. What did you think of this one, Dave?
It was a very good back and forth match. I like that Tom said, no, we're not on NWA TV. Let's go 10 minutes. Let's do this. It was a very good back and forth match. It's just one of these things with 75 coming up. It's almost a telegraph that Tom's not losing. But it's one of these things of this took place over 5 weeks ago. If they could have made it available within 2 weeks of the actual matches happening. I really didn't see anything online to spoil the matches, but it's just, in my opinion, the NWA needs to do better when they do taped events. They need to show them in closer relation to when the matches actually happened. But overall, I mean, it was a very good match.
I'm trying to remember. Did they overdub this one? No, they didn't. They didn't, did they?
No, I don't believe so.
They overdubbed HP Cares for Cooper, which was fine.
Yeah.
And they overdubbed Power last night. Could you tell? I said to my wife, I go, listen, you at several points in the stream on the show on Power, I could hear the original audio of and you're the sound guy, of Galley and Storm, and they had overdubbed it, but you can hear them in the background. Did you notice that?
It's one of these things that when they do recording, it's they may erase it or they may overdub somebody talking about what's happening, but it's almost like hearing back in the day when you had a phone call, that if there's a third line, you can listen in and you can hear other people talking, but it seems like it's in the distance.
Right, exactly that.
And I wouldn't mind if they would actually redub some of the matches, but it's one of these things. It is a lot of work. Basically, for every minute that you're doing something that somebody is talking, it takes about 10 minutes to redub and go in and make everything flow. So what you're talking is done, but it's just very time consuming.
Yeah. Chris says Murdoch, if he wins, becomes a Triple Crown champion. He becomes he has 3 NWA titles, you mean? Yes, that's correct. Right. National, World Tag, and World. Right. Yeah. Mike says it drove him up the wall with the double feed. It was, yeah. Just, they could have just used a different freaking mixer and hit mute. So, I mean, I don't know. You guys would know, but it just seems sloppy. Anyway, will it take us into the Page sisters versus Ruthie J and MJ Jenkins?
This was one of the better matches that I saw on this. What is it? Book of the World. Kenzie and Kylie versus Ruthie J, who is on the NWA roster, and MJ Jenkins, who is the Boca Raton Championship Wrestling Women's Champ. Very good crowd work by the Page sisters, just riling that crowd up. Both teams work very well together. Seeing MJ, she's wrestled one or two matches in the NWA before, but she has the size, maybe not the height, but she has the size. She's not one of the quote unquote skinnier girls. She has the size that matches up well. If it was ever pushed down the line of champ versus champ, it's not for the belt, but it's just champion versus champion. But the Page sisters, they end up getting the win. Kenzie hits the Kenzie cutter on Ruthie J. Now, Ruthie J being in this match and taking the loss to Kenzie, she's fought her before. Ruthie beat Kenzie by DQ at the pre-show at Crockett Cup, so it may look like it's a slow build for Ruthie to possibly get a run at the women's TV title down the line. And if she does that, then Kenzie can move up to. But overall, it was a very good match. A lot of good moves. These women had the crowd in the palm of their hands.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like Ruthie J, especially. And MJ Jenkins is the BRCW Ladies Champion. Dodie says they need to bring Ruthie J and MJ Jenkins into NWA canon because we need more women's tag. They're a good team. I enjoyed them together, and they're good as singles wrestlers as well. Mike was saying about the sound before. If they use the online streaming platform, I forgot the name of, to supply to and through Fight TV, if you're using that company as a host, you better change it out because it's garbage right now. Look, I mentioned it earlier. Mark Long, the Boca Raton All-Star champion, defeated Thrillbilly Silas Mason, I believe with his finisher by pinfall, if I remember it correctly, which is an odd time to show that particular match going into the national title match this weekend.
Yeah.
I just thought, okay, well, let's move on because, the Southern Six, these three different guys coming together in Australia, and how excited we all were about the organic growth of this group. And it just feels like none of them have really been made successful since the Southern Six was formed. So I don't know. We'll see. You get the last two, however, just the way things worked out. Kerry Morton defends the World Junior title against Alan Martinez.
This was a good match, in my opinion. Ricky came out with Kerry, but then was sent to the back before the match started, which I did like. They were actually following some rules. The hard-hitting back-and-forth match. Kerry had the height and weight advantage over Martinez, but there were several near falls by both wrestlers throughout the match, and the crowd really got into the match. And Kerry, he plays the prick so well. He has that chip on his shoulder, and throughout the match, he's like, "Hey, yeah, prove me wrong. I'm the champion. You're not." He ends up winning with the showstopper, and if anything, it's showing that he is improving, that he actually won the match without any outside interference or funny business by anyone involved in Cell 6.
Yeah. Yeah, it was an interesting ending. I was surprised by the main event choice that they had here, though, that coming up right afterwards. Daisy Kill and Talos took on Bull James and Gangrel. What happened with this one?
Well, in the end, I mean, size matters, but the 7-foot Talos and Daisy Kill ended up losing. Bull James and Gangrel got the win, and it's one of these things of hometown talent. Boca Raton wrestlers won, but I question why they showed some of these matches. And you're featuring some of this talent. Why show them losing? That they could have cut it down, and it was like an hour and 45 minutes. It could have been cut down, had 2 matches taken out, the Thrillbilly match and this match. If that was taken out, those wrestlers would have, granted, they lost, but you didn't see them lose. So they didn't lose their shine going into 75. They're not looking, I'm not going to say they're not looking bad into the 75th. Daisy and Talos as a good tag team, and they're losing to Bull James and Gangrel, who, granted, Gangrel is a great wrestler, but he's way past his prime. And then, I mean, I understand Thrillbilly losing to a local wrestler, a hometown talent, but why?
Yeah, I didn't get it either.
It makes me scratch my head.
You know, like the NWA, I figured would have taken a more like it because it came down we tied a number of matches, I think, right? I think Joe said at the end or something like that. But they should have taken, I thought, the same approach you're saying, like a leadership role here. Like, hey, listen, we're going to give you guys exposure and make you look good, but we're not going to show any of the matches. We could even say, look, hey, Bull James and Gangrel took a win over Daisy Kill and Talos or whatever, you know what I mean? Or you could say that Thrillbilly went down to Mark Long, but I wouldn't show it either. I don't see the point. Like, we're on the eve of the pay-per-view where we're featuring these guys, and I wouldn't show this now.
I mean, it's almost 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That they're not gaining momentum by showing people that are possibly going to get a push but they're losing in a quote unquote regional wrestling organization or an indie, if you would call it that. I'm not really sure, but I know why the people who won. They're the home talent.
Yeah.
But going in 2 weeks before your biggest event of the year, it doesn't do you any favors having your talent shown on TV losing.
Yeah. Mike has something to say here along the same lines. I understand not showing it now. This should have been 2 weeks ago, and then show the rest of the show in the prior season. But as always, the hometown boys have to go over, especially when it's a local and old TV vet. It's right to do. Make the people go home happy, but should have been done 2 weeks ago before the pay-per-view bell, not now. 100%. Yeah. Well, it was a good show, really well produced. I really liked, as I mentioned, the production of the video screen, the little packages that, clearly BRCW made. Val Capone was a refreshing voice, and, I thought it was a good event overall. Nice and long, too, almost 2 hours. So this was, Mike says, the best NWA co-promoted event that they've that they've had, much better than the previous events. Where do you think it ranks, Dave? How many stars would you give it?
I'd give it probably 2 3/4 stars, just because of the way it was, the way it was placed right before Crockett Cup. If it was 2-3 weeks ago, it wouldn't bother me as much. But going right into the biggest event of your promotion and having your local talent win over the NWA talent, which is going to be featured in prominent matches or possible prominent matches, it didn't do it any favors.
Right. Yep, I would give it 2.5, 3 stars. A lot of that's just the production, but the timing brings it down for sure. But fun to see some faces I guess we haven't seen. So, there we go. Let's go back to 75 to wrap this things up, Dave, because you've got some thoughts that you want to talk about around Thom Latimer and the 10 pounds of gold in a segment that we call I Respect You, Booker Man. Thom Latimer and the 10 pounds of gold, just to kind of set this one up for you so you can spike it. Thom Latimer had said kind of quietly, just slipped it into a promo on last week's Power, I believe, where he said, I don't care if it's Tyrus, I don't care if it's EC3, I don't give a shit, using his words. I'm at NWA 75, tap the title. I am cashing this in and becoming the world's heavyweight champion. And you got some thoughts on this. Fantasy booked us through this.
Thom going after the 10 pounds of gold, granted, he is the TV champion, but it would make them the true power couple with Thom and Camille both holding the top NWA titles at this time. It would wrap up a story. Him having the TV title and what happened with him and Adonis, they have a past. So him winning and then going after the champion, whether it be EC3 or Tyrus, it sort of all comes together. He has a past with EC3, national title, and losing. So it's one of these things of he has a legitimate shot at winning, whoever the champion is. It's one of these things of if Cardona is actually possibly rumored to be going back to the WWE, if Thom does win, Cardona can always say, you wouldn't have that belt unless I lost. So I want a shot at do the favor, give him the rub on the way out. But I'd give him a good at least 6-month run as champion. Have him build up some challengers, but you already have Adonis and EC3 that can come after the belt. It's a storyline that's already there. But if you do the power couple at least for 6 months, give them a run at the top. That way you can build up some contenders for both the world titles for both of them, the world and the women's. Thom's young enough. I believe he's 36 or 37. He's young enough. He can possibly get 1 or 2 more runs at the top of the house. And I don't think he's going anywhere. He's happy where he is. So reward him for doing what's asked of him. And I mean, it's one of these things of Thom is a good wrestler and can wrestle just about any style. So why not give him a shot? I mean, look who we have now as champion. Would Thom be any worse? I say hell no. He'd be 10 times better. He'd at least defend the belt.
Right. Mike has a couple of comments. EC3 loses. Tyrus wins. All due to what Latimer said. I'm thinking that once Tyrus beats EC3, Latimer comes out. Now, this doesn't need to be done at the end of the pay-per-view. It can be in the middle of the pay-per-view, especially if someone else does a challenge. Okay, but also it will piss somebody off if Tyrus beats EC3, then Latimer cashes in and accepts Tyrus, thus ending his NWA in-ring career. So, like, here's something I was thinking, Dave. Like, there was a time where Latimer was given a shot by EC3 at the national title. Mm-hmm. And he said, I'm going to give you a shot at the national title right now. How about you put that TV title on the line at the same time? And Latimer went, nah, I just went for the national title. Like, he has shown us that he's an opportunist. So it wouldn't be out of place for me if he ended up going and taking the title. Do you think that EC3 beats Tyrus and then Latimer beats EC3? Or Tyrus retains against EC3 and Latimer takes the title? It's a tough one.
I'm not really sure, because if EC3 loses, where does he go? He's given up his national championship. He has history with Thom, so if Thom wins against Tyrus, they can go that road again. And EC3 doing the mind games of, you wouldn't be where you are if it wasn't for me. I want a chance at your title. But I don't know. It really all depends on if Tyrus wants to put over talent, or how he wants to go out, or if he does go out. We could leave 75 with him still being champion. If he beats Thom, if he falls on Thom, you think Thom can press him and get him off before a 3 count happens? I mean, so I really don't know. I personally would like to see Thom with the 10 pounds of gold. However he gets it, however they decide to do it, is fine with me. But I do think it's time for a change, whether it's 2 new champions, 1 new champion. It's time for a change.
It is 100% time for a change, and regardless of what happens, that's an exciting proposition you have with Latimer there, though. I asked the chat, do you think Latimer walks out of 75 with the T-Pog? Dodie says, I don't think so, because EC3 is the man that Billy's always dreamed of to be champion. Means he will be champion for a longer term. Mike agrees that this is tricky to think of, hard to say. And remember, we all want to see Tyrus lose, but remember, Billy may want to milk it for all it's worth to get people to talk if he retains. I mean, if Latimer's cashing in, then I would say there's a new champion at 75, right? And I would like it to be EC3. I'd be okay with it being Thom Latimer. I don't want EC3 to win it and immediately drop it to Latimer, though. That would not be good. But you and I are going to find out, my friend. We are going to find out when we it's going to be you and me and Jay and Fuzzy's there, Sam Retro's there. What would Luthez do is going to be there. So many people I have not. Heebs is going to be there. Mike is there. Mike, are you at the show? Yeah, you're at the show, right, Mike? What were you saying, Dave?
No, I've met Heebs and several of the others, but glad to be meeting the NWA Alliance family, and it's I'm really looking forward to it. But it's one of these things of I love the NWA as a wrestling organization, not just, but it is time for a change. And I mean, I would consider walking away if Tyrus retains. Just walking away. It's been done. There's nothing else that needs to be done. Billy, you proved your point. Now give us what we'd like. Champions that wrestle.
That's a big statement. I respect you for it. And I hope that the people who have some say or pull over there that, we know a few of them and are friends with a couple, and I hope they pass that kind of thing on, man. Like if Dave Scooby, who's a guy who has been a proponent of the National Wrestling Alliance for, well, in one capacity or another, your whole life, is saying, you know what, you keep Tyrus as champion, I'm leaving, then I think that's worth pricking up an eyebrow towards and paying attention to. I love this. What would Lou Thez do? The NWA is the family member you love but don't trust with your wallet. Bang on. Dodie says, I'll never walk away from the NWA. Just return to the life of piracy. I don't know. It would have to get. I'm still enjoying watching it every week, and I'm cognizant on this show. I don't know if we've ever really talked about it before, but I'm cognizant on this show about not wanting to put a negative spin on things. I think it's so easy and so low-hanging fruit to go, I hate this, this, and this. Polka Dot Pam, who we'll be meeting this weekend, look forward to meeting her as well, once asked on this broadcast, why do you do this live stream if you hate the NWA? And we don't. We love it. We wanted to improve and explain that. She said, oh, okay. But it really hit me at that moment that there's so many things that I don't like. And I want to have a fair and balanced broadcast like we try to do all the time. But if I honestly feel in my heart down the road that, it's not something that I want to watch anymore, if it's all gags and, I don't know, clowns and Rolandos and stuff that, like, I'll spend my entire time going to the kitchen to get a drink,
Yeah.
and we'll focus on something else.
Yeah, it's one of these things. I mean, I do music for a living, and Billy does music for a living. And if you're a fan of the Smashing Pumpkins, that's cool. Hey, they have like 2 or 3 newer songs that are out that are really good songs. But if you go see them in concert, you want them to do some of their old stuff that brought you into the Smashing Pumpkins. That's what we want. We want the NWA. We want some of the old, some of the new. Just give us a good mixture. But it's one of these things, you can't always just play the hits. Sometimes you have to give them something new. And that's where you find gems that you didn't know. I have access to tons and tons of music, and I can pick the hits and play them. But if you're AC/DC, or if you like AC/DC, Back in Black and You Shook Me All Along. But there's some songs that you may have never heard, and then you hear it, you're like, oh, okay, that's always it's finding that lost gem, finding that song or that wrestler that you didn't know about. Think about, I mean, I've seen Trevor Murdoch wrestle since he was Trevor Rhodes back in late 99. But it's one of these things of, if he wouldn't have come back, where would the NWA be?
Wow.
It's one of these things. Take from the old, add some new, mix it together. What works, works. What doesn't, move on. Don't force it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, move on. I mean, just like Robert Anthony, aka Scion. For him, if you listen to his podcast, he talks mad about him not liking the character Scion, but he played the role because that's what he was given. Now he's back in the NWA as himself, proving himself, starting from the bottom and working his way up. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
You're absolutely right. We got a lot of comments in the chat here. Billy's got a Tyrus joke. The only way he wins is the referee puts rotisserie chicken around the ring. Yeah, Mike, we're gonna get a couple of shots of Johnny Walker Blue or something, buddy. Well, we owe each other that. Lou says, I love a good wrestling promotion and a great dumpster fire equally. You know what? I haven't played this one in quite a while. I think Mike made that actually, like many like a year ago. I haven't put that one out in a while. Yeah, so it's win-win. It's win-win for Lou. Listen, I got to tell you, like for me, I'm not at the point where Dave is, which I totally respect. Is like I'm not going to watch it if Tyrus is going to be champion, or he would consider that anyway. Mike did make that one, but I would hate to I'm driving. I love this company and I love this product and what it used to mean, what I hope it will mean, and the really great stuff that does exist in it right now. But my wife and I, who is also become a fan, especially of like Camille, and understandably she has the best matches on the card. We're going down together. We're driving 10 hours down from Canada. We're spending 3 nights in, I think, a pretty nice hotel, and we're spending a lot of money for that and for tickets and food and gas and the whole bit, right? And it's an expenditure. I'm not the richest guy in the world. It's an expense. And it doesn't have to be perfect for me. My favorites don't have to win. That's not it. I just want it to continue to improve and be better. And I believe just the past has told me that the NWA pay-per-views, with the exception of Back from the Attack and 312, I think, have been really, really good. And I'm going to rely on the NWA to give us another fantastic pay-per-view. EC3 versus Tyrus could be something great, or we could all end up just filling the Khorassan Ballroom at the Chase Park Plaza Hotel with boos and jeers. But that's pro wrestling, and we'll have to see what happens. So,
Yep.
I hope that it goes down. Mike says Billy's using the NWA as an act with the Smashing Pumpkins. It's a circus act to him. Dodie says, at least the clowns are talented and entertaining. I think I mentioned them earlier in the same breath of Rolando. I definitely watched the Brothers of Funkstruction a million times more than Rolando. 100%. Even Jeremy, who hates clowns, says they're a really good tag team. Mike says, I don't care about the Smashing Pumpkins music. I've never been a fan, but MWA, I'm lifelong since 9. This is terrible. The oldest promotion for pro wrestling in the fucking world is reduced to a third-rate party traveling circus act. Yes, I know that's mostly how it started. I mean, I don't honestly agree 100%. I think they get some good exposure by in the same way. Potentially, you get good exposure for different fans. Read into what I'm saying here. In the same way that they tried to get exposure from Gutfeld and by putting the TV title and the world's title on, on Tyrus and putting it out there. I think it's an avenue that was worth a shot. And I don't know if it worked or not, but there you go. And Lou says Tyrus is just plain bad for business, so things will be better going forward. Yeah. I'm excited to go, guys. I'm excited, like Jake Cal said earlier, to meet all of you guys that I haven't met before. I'm excited to see my buddy Dave again, and Jake Cal as well down there. And 75 has arrived one way or another. Here it is. Yep. It's just a couple days away. If you're not going down, we'll please watch it on Fight. Support the National Wrestling Alliance. Let's get out of here, Dave. What do you think? We got where are those banners? Here they are. Where can they find you on social media?
Scooby on Twitter or the X now, and on Instagram, also over on TikTok at Dave Scooby, the #1.
And I am at the Alliance Gold because I'm a derivative coattail riding asshole. And Jay, most importantly, thanks, Lou. Jay, most importantly, the Alliance itself is at the Alliance blog on all the social media platforms, alliance-wrestling.com, your #1 source for news and entertainment around the National Wrestling Alliance, which I just realized we didn't say at the top of the show, probably for the first time in 59 episodes. But we'll see you guys at 75. We hope that you enjoy the show. Tomorrow night on this very same platform, I believe, as far as I know, you will see the Alliance Guys podcast, the OGs, J. Cal, DK, and Jaden, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Sometimes they talk about power. They may hear. Sometimes they just carry on with some of the most interesting NWA talk that it's not just current. Like these are guys who have, you guys all know DK and Jaden, but like they have had involvement as promoters and around talent and everything else over the years. They're really interesting listen. So tune in for that. And of course, Jay himself, the boss, Captain, my captain, the pre-party before Power. I don't know if there's going to be a pre-party because Jay's going to the tapings, isn't he, Dave? I think Jay's going to the Power tapings afterwards.
No, I actually have to be headed back. We have a couple new clubs opening in the next couple weeks, so I could only take the weekend off.
Yeah, but Jay's going to that, right? To the tapings, the Power
yes,
tapings?
I believe he is. Yes.
Yeah, same.
So look out on the Discord. I know I'll be posting pictures. Post some backstage stuff, some happenings. Maybe not give spoilers, but maybe just some pictures of talent that are at the tapings. So
yeah, and Dave does some pretty good photography. So he has some good shots up there that he'll share. So guys, that's it for us. That's it for Dave. That's it for Jeremy in absentia. So until next time, we'll see you at NWA 75.
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.